Hey guys, it's good to be with you today. It is September the 2nd. Read through the Word. We are looking at, goodness gracious, where we are in Chronicles 5. We're going to travel back just a little bit in history just to kind of regroup and make sure we're all on the same page of who these people are. We're far removed, truthfully, and have been for a while because we've been in these the prophecies and the judgments and all the things that are coming. We're kind of far removed from the people. It's been a while since we've popped back into Kings and seen what's going on there. But we need to just kind of go back and remember who these tribes were east of the Jordan. Because it's significant. If you can go back with me into Genesis when Abraham had Isaac and Jacob, and then Jacob had his 12 sons, and they were the 12 tribes of Israel. Israel being the nation, but also Jacob's new name was Israel. So these are the 12 tribes. And when they were in captivity, then they were out of captivity thanks to Moses. They were led by Joshua into the promised land, and they were given allotments. And every group of, every tribe were given allotments, but they were going to have to go in and take the land. God's not just going to give it to them. They were going to take the land. And these 2.5 tribes here stayed on the east side of the Jordan River. And I made a special point. I remember that day, and I don't have the date with me. I should have turned back in my Bible, but I didn't. And I'm not going to take the time to do that now. But I remember making a special point. Pay attention to these people on the east side of the river. They promised Moses that they would go over to the west side, and of course they would help all the other tribes, but they wanted to leave their family and their livestock there, and when all the lands were conquered, they would come back, and this is where they would live. And if you remember, Reuben was the oldest of Jacob's sons, but because of his infidelity with his father's concubine, that's like a story for a late night drama, he was dethroned, if you might call it, if you will, from being the firstborn and having the first choice of the land and the double portion of the inheritance. So I believe that's one of the reasons why his ancestors, or his descendants, not his ancestors, his descendants were over on that side, is because they weren't going to have the choice pick. And this land on the east side was very fertile. It was near water. It was, plenty big enough and had the resources to support the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh. And Manasseh, remember, was Joseph's son, one of Joseph's sons. So they stayed over here, and they really did leave themselves in a vulnerable position because they were away from the family. They were away from the other tribes, and they were really out in an open area, and they were among the first to be captive and to be taken away. So that's who we're dealing with right now. We're talking about these 2.5 tribes, and that's why they are here, and they're not over with the others, because this is where they chose to live. And they're battling with the Hagarites, and hopefully I'm saying that right, which are believed to be descendants of Hagar, who got mixed up in that love triangle with Abraham and Sarah and had Ishmael. Such drama. We have just been through so much, haven't we, reading them? But so this is where they are. They're in war with them. And I just was caught and captured by these words. capable, skilled, and armed. These men formed together the armies, capable, 44,760 capable warriors. They were armed, they were skilled, and they were trained in this, and they were ready for this. But yet, it says they cried out to God during the battle, and he answered their prayer because they trusted him. So you're looking at this, you're thinking, wow, this is awesome. This is awesome. God gave them this extraordinary courage and to fight, and he gave them success. They cried out to him. They saw that all they had to do was cry out, that God was a cry away. He had not forgotten them. He had not forsaken them in the middle of all of this. And they put their trust in him, and they won. And you would think that would be the end all be all. Oh, they're back on track. But then I know you kept reading. So did I. And you get to verse 25, y'all. Seriously. But these tribes, really won't. But these tribes were unfaithful to the God of their ancestors. Really. They worshiped the gods of the nations that God had, the gods of the nation that God had destroyed. So the God of Israel, he rose up, he stirred up the Assyrians to invade the land and take them away. Fine. That's fine. That's how you're going to act. Then this is how I'm going to act. I'm just going to let this happen to you. So my takeaway from these few scriptures, really just a couple scriptures, is no matter how capable, skilled, and armed we are, we still need God. So many times I feel like I'm coasting along, handling things, not even doing it consciously. Not like I'm like dissing God, but I'm coasting along and I'm doing things fine, my own way, and not even selfishly, but I'm moving forward in the way that I believe God is calling me to move forward. And I'm doing the things that I know that God has called me to do and to be responsible for, and has skilled me in and armed me with and made me capable to do. But I still need him. I still need him. And he's always a cry away. He's always a cry away. And then we have to remember that all of our capabilities and our talents and our equipping come from him anyways. We can't get so confident that we think for 1 minute that any gift that we have or any skill or talent that we have has anything to do with us. It has absolutely nothing to do with us. Every one of us has a spiritual gift. And the more we pray, God, and the closer we walk with him, and the more we mature in our faith, we develop more and more gifts because we become more and more like the Father. So everything that we're capable of accomplishing or have accomplished is all because of him. And then lastly, what we see, just a perfect result of verse 25, is our response to his help has got to be faithfulness. As a Christian and a follower of God, a disciple of God, our only response should be faithfulness. Period. The end. But what did they do? They started slumming with the neighbors. Let's see, one of the, they lying upon the borders and conversing with the neighbors was how one commentary put it. The people that they had just subdued, that God had given them, granted them success to subdue, they become like them. And God, he's not going to, he's just not going to do that. He's just not. He's not going to play second favorite. He is a jealous God. And if we don't want him, fine. He's going to let us go on about our way. And I have said this once, and I'll say it until I see him, and I'll say it to his face. He's such a gentleman. He is not going to bully us, and he's not going to force us to follow him. He wants our unconditional love and our faithfulness because of who he is. Not because of what he's done and what he's doing in our life, but because of who he is. He is God, the creator of all, the giver, sustainer, saver, redeemer, and of our lives that we learned the other day. So our response should be faithfulness. Period. The end. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.